Hey, this is me building a $3 million a year business in public. The way I always do these videos, I start with some YouTube comment Q&A, and that's just to give you guys some value right off the bat, add some growth to my own channel because comments lead to more engagement. Growth stats across YouTube, Instagram, and products, where I just go through my last 24 hours of growth. Then I finally build in public. If you don't know who I am, this is the first time you're watching a video of mine, this is my main channel. This is where I publish AI automation and then agency content. And this is my daily updates one, the one you're on right now. We just crossed 10,000 subs yesterday. And all I do is I just scroll all the way down to the bottom here and then answer a bunch of questions. So Robert says, thank you for leading by example. The video is outstanding. Appreciate you. Thank you, Robert. Taha says, Nick, learning a lot from your YouTube comment, probably spending around a good 45 to 60 minutes a day in your content at 1.75x speed. Out of curiosity, did you win any of these Upwork proposals? Would love to know. Much love, thanks. I think I ended up getting replies from 3 of them. Yeah, I didn't proceed with them just because I was bottlenecked at the time. But how many did I end up sending? I think I sent 15 or 14, no, 13, and I got 3. So I got a reply rate of something like 25% or so, which is pretty standard based off of numbers inside of Maker School. Abdul says, if I'm using Sales Navigator Vein to source leads, should I tell each client to sign up for Sales Nav, or can I do all the filtering from my account and then just paste the URL to Vein? Wondering if just using my account for all the sourcing would be an issue. Yeah, this is a great question. I think eventually it would be an issue because Vein only realistically lets you export, I don't know, maybe like 5K leads a day. They say it's up to 15,000. I don't know if I'd really rely on that, just given that you are supplying them your cookie, right? So if you have to scrape for 3 or 4 people at a time, realistically, you're probably not going to be able to get to the volumes that you want. It is definitely annoying, but there's also like profile safety and security to worry about. Like when you are doing all of this stuff through yours and your profile is constantly being automated, you do run a higher risk of your own LinkedIn profile being blocked. So I'd sort of be careful with that for sure. The downside is, getting your own client to sign up to Sales Nav means that they're gonna have to pay another $100 a month, right? So it is what it is, but a lot of the time there are discounts and deals available. You can also have them sign up and then immediately unsign them up, and LinkedIn Sales Nav will usually give them like 50% off or whatever. So give that a go. Luke says, this is such a gem. Thank you for putting this out. Point of clarification, you talked about doing live calls versus responding to messages with Loom. Are you saying that you still do once a month live calls, but then for the remainder of the questions to chat, you reply one-on-one with a live answer recorded? Luke is asking me a question about my community Maker School after I published this video called How I Won the School Games with 335K one-man community. And to clarify, Luke, I am doing 1 weekly call inside of Maker School right now. We then have a bi-weekly event that's held by a friend and I guess colleague of mine now called Connor Kaplan, who's like a sales pro. He comes in, he just does like some live sales role play. I don't pay him a cent for it. He does it out of both the goodwill of his own heart and also obviously for exposure and stuff like that. And then for my other community, Make Money with Make, I do 2 events. So I have 1 event in 25 minutes where it's basically like an agency hot seat where I sit people down and then I run them through how to make their businesses better. They give me a bunch of stats and stuff like that. You can think of it similar to yeah, it's like basically like a live consultation that I just show a bunch of other people stuff in. And then it's like, accountable and fun. And people get to see the way that I think about business problems, which I think is a big chunk of the reason why they sign up. And then I have a weekly office hour. And then those 2 I host. And then another friend and colleague of mine who I don't pay called Santi hosts a Friday fireside chat there as well. So it's technically 3. Jordan says, great work, Nick. Thank you. 4:33. Don't know what's going on at 4:33. But when people say stuff like this, I'm always like, should I watch the video? But I don't actually want to click on the video because if I do, like the audio is going to trigger. It's going to be really loud. It's not going to be synced. So I'm not going to give that a click. But ha ha ha, I imagine that's pretty funny. Thomas says, hey, Nick, first of all, thank you for sharing your journey so publicly. To me, it's inspiring to see how the mind of a high achiever works. Thank you. I've been curious about something. Whenever I watch your videos, have you always been able to speak so fluently? I know that you've talked about doing door-to-door and other gigs when you were younger that forced you to get better at persuading people. Did those come naturally, or did you develop them through deliberate effort? Does it have anything to do with the books you read when you were younger, or did you have to adjust when you first got into recording on camera? Mainly talking about the ability to speak without having to pause mid-sentence and thinking of what to say next, and also how it seems so easy for you to think of vivid examples when explaining a topic. I started recording myself as well pretty recently as a way of practice, and I notice I tend to lose my train of thought way more often on camera than I would have expected. So I'd love to hear how you develop that skill. Yeah, thank you very much for all of this, my man. I think that I have a few things that I'd recommend to you. The first is massive action. To be abundantly clear, I was going door to door for a little over a year, maybe like, I think it might have been like a year, 15 months or something like that. And I was talking to about 50 to 80 businesses a day for that time period. And so I want you to think of the sheer amount of time that I spent just articulating needs and then my ability to solve them, and how the entire point of it was the perception of a ton of value. Now, back then, I could only provide the perception of value. Now I'm capable of providing actual value. Thank God for that. But that bore in me a nugget that I think I've been able to use over and over and over again for a bunch of different applications, whether it's door to door, whether it's sales calls, whether it's Loom videos, whether it's even email copywriting and stuff like that. So sheer volume is really big, right? You can do the math. 50 businesses times maybe 400 days, that's 20,000. In addition to the 20,000 conversations that I had with business owners over that condensed year and a bit period of my life. Before that, I worked a role where I was basically standing on a street corner with a little binder, and I was trying to raise money for starving children. And it was basically the whole child sponsorship thing, if you're familiar with that, in the arms of an angel and so on and so forth. So that naturally forces you to get pretty articulate as well, considering that you are talking to either cracked out, pretty crazy people, or, business owners that are going from point A to point B, or finance people in suits and ties that don't really have time for any bullshit. So all this really helped. And then when I transitioned to going on camera, yeah, there was definitely a big period of what the hell is going on? I mean, like, how do there's no human being in the room with me anymore. I'm not talking to a person. I'm just like talking out loud. But I've come to realize that a lot of people, you ever see or hear somebody that doesn't know that you're around, like, talk to themselves? Maybe you haven't, but I've used to be with a roommate. Sometimes my roommate would talk to himself out loud. I've lived in situations communally with a few other people, and sometimes people talk to themselves out loud. So I think of it just like that. When you talk to yourself out loud, it's almost just a tool that clarifies your thinking a little bit. And it's the same thing that I'm doing now, just at large. And because of content and leverage, it's being seen by tens of thousands of people a day. So I'm basically just thinking out loud constantly, and then I'm just like talking to myself. So if you think about it that way, when you talk to yourself, it's not like you're unnatural, right? You just don't even really think that the camera's there. You just don't really think that anybody's there. You're just talking to yourself, totally unburdened by any of that stuff. And I think after you do enough reps, it's just how it is. So yeah, I don't really have anything in the way of specific advice aside from just crazy reps. The books I read didn't necessarily help me become more articulate or whatever. Next, Nick Nate Sod. How about that? Thank you, Apps and Crafts. Very much appreciate it. Nick, I run a business and sell products. Would love, love, love to have you do a deep dive on a niche product biz. Not drop shipping, because it's a bit boring, but you could totally use my business as a case study. We're implementing a personalized cold email outreach system that was inspired by what you shared a month ago. Great work. Love the channel. Thank you very much, Panchito. I appreciate it. That's great. I really like this. Yeah, I was thinking about doing some sort of case study thing where I do, you guys ever see the Hormozy business breakdown? So that, except obviously with much smaller muscles, and then the scales of the businesses will probably be a lot smaller as well, just because most of my audience are beginners. And so to them, it's very important to see how I would recommend beginners go about things. But still, a business that's making $5,000 a month, how to get to $50,000 a month with some sort of defined roadmap, and then maybe like a check-in like 3 months later. I think something like that would be really cool. So I appreciate that, Panchito. Beyblade Knights 1223 says, Nick, the value you put out is scary. You're a good teacher. You spark my interest in learning all this automation stuff. Keep crushing it. You're sparking my interest in learning all of that Beyblade stuff. Thank you, man. Stefan says, let's say you're just starting out. The best way to get clients is through inbound. I don't think so at all. I don't believe that the best way to get clients is through inbound. I think you're making a fundamental error in reasoning here. You're starting with the conclusion. You're saying the best way to get clients is through inbound, obviously. That's not necessarily true. The term best really depends on where you are in your business. If you're just starting out, I would say inbound is the worst way to get clients for your business. What are you going to do now, huh? Anyway, but how would you begin creating content that attracts local businesses specifically, not content for selling a course or building a community around teaching others how to sell to local businesses? I would not do this at all. This problem is one that I would not personally face because I would go outbound entirely. I would go outbound because of reasons like you've seen other people talk about just below on this daily updates video. Outbound just makes you a significantly better salesperson, I think. Makes you a lot more high agency because you have to really just get out and then put your soul in the hands of a person and be very vulnerable and have them crush it repeatedly. It's a skill that goes much far beyond just the sales aspect, I would say, and then it bleeds into every part of your life. So if you can cultivate an outbound mindset from day one, like I did, I think you would be in a very good position 5 or 6 years later. You'll have to go through a lot of suffering, to be clear, but so how would I actually do this, though, if I just take your question at face value? I would create content that answers local business problems. So I have this one video called How I'd Automate a Plumbing Business. It is by far one of the driest, crappiest videos I've ever created. But I really wanted to do a series on this, and I just was creating content once a day at the time, and I said, screw it, why don't I just do my plumbing business thing today? So it's very unoptimized. But essentially, what it is a step-by-step breakdown of everything that I would do to automate plumbing companies. I got a ton of leads for HVAC services, for plumbing businesses, for local trade services, basically, as a result of this. So I would do stuff like that. You could see immediately after I did this, I had a bunch of people try copying me, which was pretty funny because this video did not perform very well. Numbers-wise, it obviously performed well, conversion-wise and stuff like that. But that is what I would do. How I'd automate this, how I'd automate that, how I'd automate this vertical, how I'd automate that. Hopefully that makes sense, man. And I'm not just shitting all over you. I just think that this is a big misunderstanding. And a lot of people really just think, oh, I have to start creating content. And it's like, well, why would you click on your video? I wouldn't click on your video. Why would you click on your video? Is there any reason you would click on your video, for Christ's sake? No, definitely not. You have like no accomplishments, no skills. You haven't done anything of renown, to be honest, probably in the niche that you're trying to solve. If you have, then sure, create content, but you probably haven't. And you're thinking like, oh, I'm at the beginning, I need to create a bunch of content. Well, it's like you have a megaphone out and you're like, oh yeah, this is going to amplify my messaging. But then there's like a billion people with industrial size megaphones that are way louder than you and way sexier and taller and more handsome and more articulate or whatever. Why would you even try competing in that market? That sounds like BS. Instead, you compete in that market of one where you just show up in front of the person's door and you say, hey, how's it going? You go directly to the people you want to talk. No megaphone needed. And while you'll speak a little softer, I think the quality of the clients that you'll get as a result of that will be much higher as well. F1D142 says, I have a joke. Why don't AIs argue? Because I always process their feelings first. Thank you. Could we just change all questions to you guys just sending me jokes? I think I'd really appreciate that. Beehive says, Hormozy impression on point. Thank you. Was I making a Hormozy impression? Probably because my muscles are so big. Is that what you guys are saying? Hormozy impression. Hormozy impression is just like getting really ripped. Your Hormozy impression's on point. It's like Mac or whatever from It's Always Sunny. Okay, Joey says, hey, Nick, I got the situation on Upwork. Guy wants to partner with me because he has quite a few connections with CEOs in London that are in need of AI marketing services. I always found this funny, Joey, not to cut you off. Well, I am the one dictating your point, so I guess I'm cutting myself off. Not to cut myself off here, but I always find it funny when people like, I have connections with XYZ people, or like, the value of this person is in their connections. I think you can get value from people from connections for sure. But I joined this one PR company specifically because of the value of the connections. And I found very quickly that I could approximate the same value of those connections just by doing like pretty simple, easy consulting gigs. So when I consulted with somebody at Hewlett Packard, and they were implementing some outbound sales flow into like HP or something, and they were just asking me some questions. And then I realized like, oh, now I can say that I performed consulting for the Hewlett Packard team. That's pretty sick. Wow. We've worked with people like, we've worked with teams like, we've worked with members at companies like it's pretty crazy that you can get social proof like that yourself. So obviously connections here are in a different context. You're talking about them actively referring you, but just wanted to make it clear that like, star power and stuff like that, you can actually gain quite a bit of star power just by being smart. Okay, so we're starting with a luxury car rental business. He said it's currently spending $40,000 on marketing on Google and sending out emails. Our target market is high net worth individuals in London and insurance companies. What do you think is the best way to scrape these types of people? High value and maybe looking for rentals. I thought just doing CEOs, founders, and investors in the London area, but I got about 100,000 results. I feel like it's too broad, but maybe I'm wrong here. I think you're not necessarily wrong, but I think that the thing is, in the past, you were forced to make trade-offs between the specificity of the ICP and then the volume, because the more specific they were, the lower volume you could do, and then the less personalized, and then the less specific they were, the higher volume you could do, and then the less personalized the outreach was. But nowadays we have AI and stuff, so you could actually like make 100,000 outbound emails seem like hyper-personalized to each of these 100,000 people. So I don't actually think you have to make this trade-off at all. I think Apollo will work fine for insurance, but I'm not sure the best approach for high net worth individuals. Yeah, high net worth individuals are just going to be business owners, basically CEOs, founders, investors, VCs, stuff like that. Company can benefit from this. It's just a big jump because I've never ran an email campaign, but I do understand the fundamentals. I haven't found any success in this market. Luxury car rentals through cold email. I think if you were to do this logically, you would need to have quite an offer. And you would need to put something very sexy in front of people that provides them either a heavy discount on services, which is obviously not the most important thing to extraordinarily high net worth people, but also like extremely easy and quick access to services. No headache. What are the values of like a high net worth individual is one that, I'm quickly becoming one of these. quick and easy access, no headache, no logistics, cool experience, fraternizing with other high income people. That's very big. If you could find a way to like maybe invite them to some big event or something like that. Maybe, yeah, event would be a cool angle now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I would say that's about it, just off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure there are more. Oh, photos? Yeah, photos would be cool. So if they could find a way to like weave in some sort of like photography or documentation or something like that, hey, pick up your luxury car and we'll like take a photo of you and whatever. That'd be pretty cool as well. So cool. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll leave it there and then we'll do one more from Omar. I'm currently starting my campaign. My inboxes are in the warm-up phase, which I think takes like 2 weeks. Could you correct me on that? No, it takes 2 to 3 weeks. I have time to learn and do stuff that will help me be prepared for when I start the campaign. What should I do to prepare? And the best things that can help me in this. And should I join Maker School now or wait like 2 days before warm-up ends so I can prepare the sequences and all that? Maker School is actually like, we walk you through the whole sign-up process for your emails. So I would just recommend that you join Maker School as quickly as possible. And we take the 21-day time period into account, and we actually like get you to do 21 days of things to prepare for this. So the fact that you already started up the email campaign is good. Means you'd be, I think, 2 days ahead as a result of this. But I would absolutely recommend you join. And I'm not just saying this because I want your money, but because I think that's probably the straightest line path for you here to answer that question. Okay? All right. Hopefully everything here I've said makes sense, guys. I got a community call coming up here. So where am I at with business in general? I've done a lot more analyzing, and I've added another several thousand words to that big retrospective that I was writing yesterday. That was pretty exciting. Done a lot more looking into bottlenecks and whatnot. I think I can realistically buy myself about 40% of my time back just through delegating my email administration, as I mentioned, by changing the way that I do some of my left-click agency work, by changing the way that I do some of my community management, and then by changing some time investments into things like daily updates and other content forms. And if I can buy 40% of my time back, I'll be in a very good spot. So that's mainly what I focused on, and I've just written all the stuff out. Today, I'm going to be compiling a giant list of actionables. I also have a sales call with one Saudi prince. It's going to be awesome. It's happening soon. I have a community call in like 10 minutes with Make Money with Make, my agency hot seat. And I have a sales call with this other multi-billion-dollar tax firm. That's going to be pretty exciting. And yeah, we'll see how all these go. I'm obviously pretty excited at the direction that LeftClick is going now that I'm opening the door up to actually dealing with leads that are doing these inbound inquiries before I had basically shut them all out just in favor of content. Crossing my fingers for it. Should be pretty fun. And then, yeah, I'm going to continue implementing on or writing out actionables for how to save my time. And then probably mid this week, I'll start actually like actioning the actionables, which will be cool. And the goal is to get me to a point where I'm making, ideally I would make a similar amount of money to what I'm making now, a similar amount of money. That'd be nice. But the way that I see it is if I can buy myself back, say 50% of my day, and then I can only take a haircut income about maybe 10 to 20%, that would be ideal. So if I make $300,000 a month, and then I save 50% of my time, wouldn't that be a massive win? I mean, that's just the definition of leverage. I'd like this to be the case. We'll see if I can make it happen. The issue is so far, most of my businesses have been so me reliant, and because I'm just very good at a lot of things and I'm very fast and whatnot, it's a one-to-one relationship between how much time I spend and then how much money I make. Very classic founder exceptionalism problem. I consult with people about this problem all the time, and now I'm in one. It's just I'm in one at a much higher revenue level and income level than most people ever are, I would say. Most people start running into this issue at like $15,000 a month. I'm running into this issue at like $400,000 a month. So yeah, we'll see how I can make it bigger. Also, one other thing, just as an aside, couple other things I want to focus on over the course of the next little while is like I want to become a physical specimen. I want to become the picture of good health. And I've just been neglecting my health so much over the course of the last couple of years that, I think it's just like really impacted me. And the clarity of my thinking and whatnot has also suffered. I think health and like bodily health and then mental health is really big. And then, I want to form stronger relationships with people that are both local to my area and then people that are also just like, high achievers that are focused on growth and whatnot. 287197 on my Instagram here. Cool. So let's just really quickly tabulate the stats. That looks good. 0.28%. That's fine. I haven't posted in a while. It's my daily updates channel over here at 10,000 now. Hell yeah. Thank you guys very much for making this a reality. And then Instagram's almost at 300,000. Cool. I'll leave it there. Have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll catch up with you all tomorrow.